My dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today is our lecture about sound and sound groups. That is on page 9. So please follow with me, and I'm going to explain this topic in details. It's a little bit complicated. You need to pay attention, please. Now let's start with a very basic fact about English language, which is that we have 44 different sounds in English. And these sounds can be divided into consonants and vowels. Later on, we are going to talk about this in detail. But let's have or deal with a very big question. But inshallah, it's going to be easily explained and answered, which is why and how do we have different sounds? Okay, why do we have 44 different sounds? Okay, and how do we make these different sounds? Actually, we can make different sounds because we have different speech organs that can move in different directions and take different shapes and interact in different ways with each other and with the airflow. Let me repeat this again with explanation. So we can make different sounds because we have different speech organs. The speech organs are in Arabic called a'dha an-nutq. Sometimes we call them articulators. Okay? So these speech organs, like the lips, the teeth, the tongue, the roof of the mouth, the soft palate, okay, the larynx, the vocal cords, all of these speech organs are different. We don't have one speech organ or two, we have more. And these speech organs, they move in different directions. Let's take the lips, for example. The lips can move up and down, and this movement is various. And the tongue also. The tongue can be moved upward, downward, leftward, rightward, backward, forward. So again, we have different directions or different movements of the tongue, actually. And these speech organs, they move in different directions and they can take different shapes. So, for example, the lips can be rounded, like in the pronunciation of the sound O, and can be spread like the pronunciation of the E. Okay, the tongue can be curved, can be pushed forward. The soft palate can be raised, can be lowered. So we have different shapes, and we are going to talk about these shapes and these speech organs in details. And while these speech organs, which are different, move in different directions and take different shapes, they interact with the airflow and with each other in different ways. So, for example, we can have interactions between speech organs. For example, the tip of the tongue, اللي هو مقدمة اللسان, it can move upward, يعني raised, to be in touch with the alveolar ridge, as in the sound it, with the palate, as in the sound y, with the soft palate, with the sound ak. Actually, here we have the back, not the tip. We talk about the tongue as a whole. So there are interactions. Another example, the tongue can be moved forward to be in touch with the teeth, with the upper front teeth. That's another interaction between the organs of speech. And while these organs of speech move differently, shaped differently, interact differently, they can also interact with the airflow that is pushed out indifferently. And for all of these differences and variations in the speech organs, in their movements, in their shapes, in their interactions, we have different sounds. Let's start from the beginning. How do we produce sounds? How do we produce sounds? From the beginning, we can say that we can produce sounds when the air is pushed out of the lungs. We have air in our lungs, عندنا هواء بالرئتين, we push it outside, okay? So when we push the air outside, as if we are breathing, we can either push it through the mouth or through the nose. These are the only cavities or the only ways for the airflow to go out. Again, we have air in our lungs, we push it outside either through our nose or through our mouth. Correct? Now, the direction of the airflow is to be pushed outward. Okay? Now, in this journey of the airflow from the lungs until it's pushed out, the speech organs may interfere, تتدخل وتتداخل with the airflow, stop it sometimes completely وتوقفها عن الحركة تماما. Sometimes stop it partially, جزئيا. Sometimes let it go freely. Let it go freely. The speech organs, they don't interfere with the airflow. So the speech organs may either stop the airflow completely, stop it partially, or let it go out freely, and sometimes it changes the direction of the airflow. For example, rather than going out through the center of the mouth, it goes out through the sides. It's rather than it goes out through the mouth, it goes out through the nose. So this is how to imagine the variations we have in the sounds. Okay, so we have different sounds because we have different speech organs. They can take different directions, different shapes. They can interact with the airflow and with themselves in different ways. Okay, so when we push the air outside, it either goes through the mouth or through the nose, and throughout its way out, the air can be stopped completely or partially. Sometimes the air goes out freely بدون يتدخل به أحد, but sometimes the air is directed to a certain route, and we are going to talk about this in details as well. Now let's have an example. When we have complete closure, do we have it in P, in V, in L, in E? Okay? Now, I want you to think for a moment, but I'll give you the answer. The airflow is completely stopped in P, in the P sound. Why? Because in P sound, the lips are pressed together and the air is stopped completely for a while. Then it is pushed out. I'm going to try, and I want you, when you listen to the lecture, try with me. So when the lips are pressed together, the air is stopped completely. Sometimes the air is stopped partially, and this is found in the sound V. 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 We can feel that the air can go out without being stopped, but the airflow is not going out freely. There is an obstruction, أكو إعاقة, but this obstruction is not a complete one. It's rather what? A partial one. Where do we have this partial contact or stoppage? When the lower lip is raised to be in partial contact with the upper front teeth. Try and feel. Your lower lip is raised to be in partial contact, not complete contact. If we have complete contact, the air will not be able to go out. As in ip. But here we say, we can say it as long as we want. Sometimes the airflow is modified. It's not stopped partially, not stopped completely, but it is modified. That is, the the airflow is modified. The direction of the airflow is modified. And this is happening in the sound L, L. You can feel that the center of the mouth is closed while the sides of the mouth are open. So instead of going through the center, because there is a closure or a contact between the tip of the tongue and the alveolar ridge, the air goes out through the sides. Again, don't worry if you feel this subject is difficult, because we are going to deal with this in details in subsequent sections and chapters. So don't worry. This is only an idea about the topic. Later on, we are going to deal with it in details. Now, sometimes we said the air goes out freely. That is in the pronunciation of sounds like E. Look, nothing is in the way. The air goes out freely. There is no obstruction. There is no speech organ that is stopping the air from going out. Neither partially nor completely. Nor there is a modification. ولا أي تحوير لمجرى الهواء. The air goes out freely. E, O, U. These are the vowels. They are pronounced when the airflow goes out freely. Look, from these 4 examples, we can feel the variations we have in the pronunciation of sounds. Now, even the same sound can be pronounced differently by the effect of surrounding sounds. So, the sound te, for example, whenever we have it, we have the same mechanism in the pronunciation. The tip of the tongue is raised to be in contact with the alveolar ridge, and the air is stopped for a while, then the air is pushed out. This is the same. But sometimes we have different differences, actually, not in the whole nature of the sound, but in specific details. تفاصيل بسيطة جدا لكنها تفاصيل. For example, look at the pronunciation of T and to. I want you to put the mirror in front of you. جيبوا المراية وحطوها قدامكم والفظوا T2, one after the other, and try to feel and see. No, why not feel? You can see it in the mirror. In T, the lips take a neutral spread position, منبسطة مفتوحة. But with 2, the lips take a rounded position, دائري, rounded. يلا T2, T2. So in this or in these 2 words, the ta in T is not exactly the same as the ta in 2, though it is still ta بعد تا ما تغير الصوت. But the specific details in the pronunciation of this ta differ in T from in 2, because here we have ta pronounced with a neutral position of the lips. The lips take a neutral position or a spread position. Okay, it's a spread position. تكون الشفاه منبسطة. While in 2, the lips take a rounded position, just like a circle, So why is this difference? Sounds are similar but not identical. الأصوات similar but not identical. Identical means exactly the same, and the fact is that they are not exactly the same. They are only similar. Let's take another example. The words he had who. I want you to pronounce these sounds or these words and put the mirror in front of you and try to see what's happening or what happens to the mouth. He had who. In he, the tongue is almost high, while in had, the tongue is almost low inside the mouth. And with who, it's the same with 2. We have rounding in the lips. So the ha we have here, is not exactly the same as the ha we have here and the ha we have here. Not exactly they are ها. لما نصنف ونوصف نقول هذا الساوند ها. But to be more accurate and to pay attention to details, they are not exact. They are not identical. They are only what? They are only similar. Okay? Okay. So a phoneme, just like ha or te in the examples above, can be realized in different sounds. The phoneme is the abstract, or let me say the theoretical actually the theoretical aspect of the pronunciation, but the actual aspect is the sound. Sounds are what are the actual realizations of phonemes. So we have te phoneme in these two words, which can be realized in two different sounds. One with a spread position of the lips, another one with a rounded position of the lips. Okay, the same thing with ha, and hu. We have the same ha phoneme, but it is realized in three different ways. Okay, though have much similarities, they are also different from each other. The sound in ha is not exactly the same as the sound in ha in hu, yet they are similar. They are still referring to the same sound, to the same phoneme, which is the ha phoneme. So what to do as learners? As learners, you should be able to produce the 44 consonants اللي هم الفاولز والconsonants اللي عندنا. These are actually phonemes. They are the phonemes of the language. Correct? You should be able to produce them correctly. And the next step is to do what? This is what we want you to achieve at this stage, actually. At this stage, because you are still beginners. You are still صف أول. So the job of pronouncing correctly the 44 consonants, sounds, not consonants actually, sounds and vowels and consonants, let me say phonemes, the 44 phonemes, not just consonants and vowels. Yeah, no. Okay, no problem. So you should be able to produce the 44 phonemes we have in English, and this is what we want you to do at this stage. But later on, you should be able to use as many different as necessary to represent particular phonemes. What's different? Different sounds. For example, the phoneme te and the two different sounds that refer to the phoneme te, اللي هم with spread lips position and with rounded lips position. هذول يسموهم different sounds of the same phoneme, which is one of these 44 sounds, phonemes actually. Now we have examples, la and ra. Stage 1 is to distinguish between these phonemes. You should be able to distinguish la from ra. That's why we say read, not lead, and ling, not ring. So this is the first point, that is to identify and produce the sounds of the phonemes of the language, just like these phonemes, ta, ra, ha, pa, da, ga. All of these are among the 44 phonemes of the language. But later on, for example, you should know that la can be realized as dark L and light L. Okay? This is the second stage. You should be able to say kill, not kill, because this should be dark. And we do not say look. We say look, look, because la in this case should be light or clear L. Correct? So this is the next stage. After you use and pronounce correctly the 44 phonemes of the language, later you should realize and be able to notice and identify the sounds of each one of these phonemes, just like these variations of the same phoneme لا. Thank you very much for listening. Waiting for your comments and questions in the lecture.